Hi folks, it's been a while, about a month since I made a video, and it's late winter. It's late February, almost March. I anticipate making some more videos shortly of just working on trees. But until then, I thought today I would do some more bonsai story time. Like my last video where I told the story of my Japanese maple. As I was putting together the pictures for that slideshow, I came across all these pictures of bonsai that I've had that have since gone to the forest in the sky, and I thought, I should make a video where I present some of these trees of bonsai's past, and knowing what I know now, tell what I think did wrong, and perhaps I could, somebody would find that interesting, so that perhaps you don't repeat my mistakes. On story time, so I have the pictures right here on my laptop. My first bonsai was a Fukien tea. Fukien tea, they are notoriously kind of tough, and they are sold as beginner trees. But they're tough for a lot of people. They're really prone to disease, and they don't tolerate drought at all, which you'll find with the story I'm about to tell. So I got this tree, I think I got it way back in maybe even 2010. So I've actually been at this bonsai game for maybe 15 years. And I got it from a vendor in a temporary, it was like an art walk, I think. And it was a nice tree. It was healthy, and it did really well for me for a while. I took care of it. I think I had it for a whole year. And so what happened to this tree? It's not with us anymore. So what happened is I went on vacation, and I left the tree with a non-plant person, my coworker, and I gave him instructions which weren't very good. And when I came back from vacation, it was just dried out. It was gone. It was toast. Like I said, Fukien tea do not handle drought well. Looking back now, I think maybe I could have saved it if I would have just hydrated it and waited to see if growth came back. But at the time, I thought it's dead. All the leaves were just shriveled up and dead. Okay, so what did I do wrong? So first, what killed this tree is drought, lack of water. But I'm not going to completely blame my coworker. I think I was partly to blame for this because I'd been keeping this tree in a north-facing window in my apartment, which oddly enough, thinking about it now, I can't believe it did so well in that north-facing apartment window inside. It grew for me pretty well. It flowered multiple times. I remember it seemed to always be flowering. Now that's one thing I loved about the tree. It has these glossy green leaves and white flowers that are really nice. So it was in a north-facing window. Then when I went on vacation, I brought it to my office where I worked with that coworker and who took care of it. And I put it in a west-facing window. And so I think I probably gave him poor instructions about how often it needed to be watered. In that west-facing window, probably need to be watered every day. So I was partly blamed for that. And so that's one thing I learned is when you move a tree from one situation to another situation, it's gonna change how much water it needs, especially if you're moving it from inside to outside. The water needs of your tree is gonna drastically increase if you move it from indoors where there's less turbulence, airflow, temperature change, to outside. There's gonna be a lot more evaporation, at least here in the western dry states. Anyway, so Fukien tea. If you have one of these and you're a beginner and you are successfully caring for it, I mean, seriously, congratulations. You're doing a great job because they're a tough tree. And if you have killed this tree, or you're a beginner and you're killing it, or I've killed it, don't feel bad. Try with another species. They're tough. They can be tough. All right, tree number 2, the olive. I think this is like a dwarf cultivar, Little Oli, I think is the name. And this tree, I got it in the mail. I just ordered it in the mail because I thought I want an olive tree. And when it came, I thought, well, the structure was just horrendous. So another tip, I guess, about these trees is like when you order a tree in the mail, don't expect much. You might luck out and get a really nice structurally sound tree, but this tree was just kind of a mess. It had just been hacked and then hadn't been really sculpted at all, but you get what you pay for. It was pretty cheap. So I love this little tree. I really did. I had it for a while. How did I kill this tree? So this tree died, or it did die, it declined rapidly after I gave it a repot. And so what I think happened to this tree is, first of all, I gave it a repot probably pretty early when I didn't need to. I should have just let it be in the soil it was in for a whole year or two. For some reason, I thought, this tree probably needs a repot. It wasn't a small pot, right? So you think you need to repot these all the time. But I think I jumped the gun on repotting. So that was the first thing. And then that repot, this was early in my bonsai journey, and I didn't believe in bonsai soil. And so I think a repot into poorly drained soil is what killed this tree. One more thing about this tree, I think that it, olive is an awkward species for my climate. I'm sure you can successfully keep olives in USDA zone 6B. I think you can, but the winters here are probably just too cold for it, so I can't keep it outside. Yet you probably don't want to keep it inside year round. That's not good for bonsai. So it's just an awkward species for this area. We don't really have olives growing around. So I think that's another thing that maybe contributed to the death of this tree, is just buying a tree and trying to care for a tree that was just not a good fit for my climate. I should have grown a thuja, I should have grown a pine, I should have grown a maple. There's so many species. There's like 70,000 species of trees in the world, and then if you add the shrubs on top of that, there's literally tens of thousands of species that you can grow as bonsai. So why not choose something that is comfortable with climate? Yet we all, of course, in my most popular video, I tell the story, we all kind of love that the novelty of and the exotic species to our area. We think it's fun, and we gravitate towards those sometimes. But anyways, on to the next tree. This tree, I laugh because this tree, this is a Douglas fir. And so how did I get this tree? So it's actually in this pot that my Fukien tea came in. So after the Fukien tea died, I was kind of looking for another tree. Maybe I had the olive at this time too, I'm not sure. Or in those early days, I only ever had maybe one or two, maybe three bonsai at a time for years and years. I didn't have dozens like I do now. So my parents are building a house in a forest where they live now, and I knew there was all these trees there, and I knew they were gonna just kill those trees. So I asked my parents, hey, can I dig up one of your trees in your forest? And they're like, sure. So I dug up this Douglas fir, and so this fir is obviously dead now. It is dead. So here's what I did. I dug it up, and right then I styled it, I pruned it, I wired it, I shoved it in a tiny bonsai pot. So there's multiple things I did wrong with this tree to kill it. So first of all was I styled it and worked on it and did root prune everything in one go with Yamadori tree. That's a big no-no. It's fine, I talked to a lot of people. I'm amazed actually by my number of acquaintances and friends who have some interest in bonsai, who have enough interest that they say something like, yeah, I kind of want to get into bonsai. Like, there's so many people. I can't believe the number of people, my coworkers and just acquaintances and past friends. Anyways, but a lot of them really like the idea of going out to the forest and digging up a tree. And I think that's fine. I think Yamadori is a great way to get a good tree, but I've started telling people, the last person I talked to that wanted to do that, I told them the process. I said, yeah, well, so if you want to do that, you can go to the forest, you dig up a tree, spring's a good time to do it, then plant it in the ground, and then forget about for 2 years. And I just stop there, dramatic pause, and they say, oh, really? Like the last person I taught, my friend, I said, yeah, you just want to leave it alone for 2 years. If you can leave it alone for 3 years, probably even better. And that kind of puts the brakes on a little bit for some people, and rightly so. I think that's really the good way to do Yamadori, is you dig it up and then you just let it recover for at least a year. 2 years is good. 3 years is probably best. So I did not do that with this tree. Another big problem I did with this tree, back to bonsai soil again, is I remember distinctly having this thought at the time. I thought, okay, it's been growing pretty well in this forest soil, so I'm just gonna put it in the bonsai pot in this forest soil. So the soil that this tree was growing in is a very like clayey soil, very dense. And that works fine in a forest where, and that's where they grow, right? It's native to that like soil type. And that works fine when it's not in a pot. When you put a tree in a pot, like all the rules change with soil. It all changes. You do not want a compacted clay soil in a tiny pot like this. So I just stuck it in this clayey soil in this little tiny pot. This tree like never had a chance to live. The other reason why I laugh at this tree, I was really proud of the styling at this time. I thought, man, this tree looks really good. And so I snapped this picture. Now I look at it and I'm like, oh, it's just horrendous to me. I do not like the styling at all. My tastes have definitely changed with bonsai. So many things I did wrong with this tree. So with this tree, I let it recover in the shade for a while. Then I moved it out into the sun and all the needles just scorched and it looked just terrible. Because it's an evergreen tree and those scorched needles aren't gonna, if they all fall off, there's a good chance the tree dies. But anyways, the tree was just not growing. It was in decline. I think I probably got rid of it before it was completely dead. But if it wasn't dead, it was gonna be dead. So probably my biggest early mistake with bonsai, and that's partly because it's Yamadori, early Yamadori. You gotta let the tree recover. All right, another Yamadori, and so I wanted to present these two in juxtaposition to one another because this is a Yamadori where actually I think I did things right. This is a Western larch. It's from what I call the bonsai cliff, which I will take you to the bonsai cliff here in a few months. Right now the bonsai cliff's covered in snow, maybe in April. But the bonsai cliff is a cool place. It's in my local national forest, and it's this rocky cliff where all these stunted trees grow. And there's like hundreds of cool bonsai there. I dug up a couple. A couple have died. I have a few that are still alive. Like my larch here is from that bonsai cliff, and fingers crossed if the larch comes back this year, it'll be its third or fourth spring. If it comes back and it's growing, I think it has made the transition from Yamadori to bonsai. But anyways, this is Yamadori from the bonsai cliff, and I collected it at the right time of year, right before the buds were about to open. They were swelling. From what I've read, that's a good time to collect larch. And I put it in I left all the roots on. There weren't a ton of roots, but I left all the roots on because the soil is very rocky there. And I put it in this little pot, and it grew, and I think it grew for a whole season and then came back in the spring. And so I thought, I've got it made. But then the third year, it just didn't come back. And so why do I tell this story? It was because I think I really did everything right with this. But no matter what, Yamadori is just, it's not a sure set thing. If you dig up a tree in the forest, especially a tree that was kind of fighting for its life. This tree, I counted the rings on it, and even though it's tiny, it was maybe 6 inches tall, maybe. But it had really nice bark on it, and I counted the rings. I think I counted there's at least 13. So this was a 13-year-old tree that was only this tall. So it had been struggling for life, but it was a cool tree. This is actually the best angle of it, but it was a very unique tree, one of a kind. All right, on to the mugo pine. So this tree is no longer with us, and I was also proud of the styling on this tree. I look at it now, I'm like, it's all right. You know, it looks kind of cool. But this is a case, and I think this and maybe the next tree, are the same cause of death, in my opinion, what I think happened. And that is I just did too much work too soon. I've been reading, I know, online about mugo pine, and this again was later in my bonsai journey when I knew more what I was doing. I was reading how, it actually is a good time of year in August to work on mugo pine. And that's because mugo pine and a lot of conifers and maybe even all trees put on a ton of root growth actually in the fall. And so you can actually work on your trees in the fall or late summer, and then they will recover with a lot of root growth in the fall. And so I took that to heart and I said, okay, I'm going to style this mugo pine and do this work in the fall. I think I did it in August. And I did quite a bit. I took it out of its soil and replaced all the soil, and I pruned the top. So I worked on the top and the bottom at the same time. I think that's helped kill it. And I think, you know, even though I read online all this information, I think it was from Harry Harrington, who knows what he's doing, you know, how you can work mugo pines in the fall. The thing is, I don't know if that works for my climate, because trees in my climate in July and August, they are extremely stressed. They are drought stressed, and it's just dry and hot, no humidity, just dry and hot. And so I think I worked on this tree. First I worked on the roots and the top at the same time, and then I worked on it when it was just stressed by heat. And I think maybe working on trees in August isn't really great in my area. I don't know. That's just what I suspect. Nevertheless, whatever killed it, it died. It just went downhill. The needles just turned brown and was not doing well. I think in hindsight, what I should have done is just worked on the bottom or the top, but not both, and just taking it slow, especially with pines. You want to take it slow with pines, from what I understand. All right, so on to the next tree. This is a little spruce, and I think this was the next year that I killed this tree. And I can't remember what was the variety. It was a spruce with tiny, tiny little needles. And again, maybe I thought, well, that was a pine I killed, so let's try a spruce. And so I did the same thing. I worked on the tree in late summer or early fall, because I had read, like, yeah, conifers, they're okay to be worked on this time of year because they'll put on a ton of root growth in the fall and recover from whatever insults you give the tree. So I took this tree, a big, nice, full nursery shrub. This is one of the few times I actually remember to take a before picture before working on a tree, because usually I forget. And here is the styling, and I was pretty happy with his styling. It was good to see, looking through my pictures, like, okay, my sense of aesthetics, bonsai aesthetics, has kind of increased a little bit. It has a pretty good height to trunk thickness ratio for the first styling. I have the branches kind of spaced like this. It has a nice curve on the trunk that I found. It was a lot of fun doing this styling. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. But again, I didn't really work the roots much at all. I think I took the roots out a little bit and maybe shortened up a bit, but I took a ton off the top, like a lot. And I think it was just too much work at one time. And so the big lesson I learned from this tree was I just do too much work at one time. The same story for a lot of these trees I presented. So maybe that's the overall message of this video, is maybe when you're a beginner, you don't know how much trees can take, and you can push them and kill them, and you'll learn, okay, well, I did too much. But if you want to be safer, if it's a tree that you really value, just take it slow. And how do you do that? Well, I'd say, for one thing, work on either the top or work on the bottom, and maybe not both. And that's just to be safe. I can say I have, for many trees, I haven't done that. I've worked on the top and the bottom at the same time, especially those are trees coming from the nursery, and it's fine. But if you want to be safe, play it safe, just work the tree slowly. And yeah, I'll end it there. So that's the end of my story time. That's just a few of the trees I've killed. I've killed many a trees. These are just some of the pictures I had, and hopefully that you learned something from that. And I think I'm gonna make this a multi-part video. I have a few things to show. So now on to the next segment. So I got an exciting package just a few days ago, all the way from Pennsylvania. This little tiny ginkgo seedling. This is from Dave at Dreaming of Bonsai. Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate it. So in case you haven't heard, Dave is doing Ginkgofest, where he sent out ginkgo seedlings to various places around the United States. And so I'm happy to be participating, and really appreciate the tree, Dave. I'll do my best to keep this thing happy. And he also sent me 4 ginkgo seeds, which I am now attempting to germinate. Here's my little tiny Uria cuttings that rooted last year. I'm really hoping these guys wake up. I would just love it. If they wake up, I think we're good, but we're not. Nothing's for sure yet. And here's what things are looking like. We had a lot of snow. It's now warm, quite warm. I think it's like 35 degrees right now, so just balmy. And I buried a lot of my trees in this snow. They've been buried in snow for I don't know, a couple weeks now. Just pulled out my bristlecone pine. Anyways, so I'm just really excited for March. I got some work to do here in my garden box here. I want to do work on this prunus clump that I dug up from right there. It's growing at the base of my plum tree right here. Dug it up, planted in here, I think 3 years ago. So I have some ideas of what I want to do with it. So that should be an upcoming video. I'm gonna pop my Douglas fir. I'm gonna dig up a lot of these trees in my grow bed because they've been growing here for a few years without any root work. So I don't want the roots to get too strong. They gotta be dug up. My little potentilla right there. I'm going to put that in a bonsai pot this spring. So it seems like it's close, but it's not. I mean, I've still got a month, at least a few weeks. Gotta wait for all this snow to go away before I start working on the trees in here. Anyway, it was fun filming again. It's been a while, and I'm hoping I'll pick up my videos again here. But until next time, happy bonsaiing.